Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Nerona. I'm a crochet designer from South London, and this is my crochet podcast where I chat about all my crochet projects and things that I'm working on and things that I finished, and also a few plans for future projects. I'll put all the links to the patterns that I mention in the show notes, which will be linked to below. But if I've missed anything, or if you've got any questions about anything, just write a comment or send me a message and I'll try to let you know the information that you need. I'm on Instagram as Catherine Crochets and also on Facebook as Catherine Crochets, and my patterns are on Ravelry, Etsy and Lovecrafts, and I'm also on Pinterest as well. I think that's about it. So I've got quite a lot to show you today, so let's get started. I'll start off with two finished projects. One I showed in the last podcast, which was very nearly finished then, and shortly after the podcast I did indeed finish it, and that is the Graphite Mandala by Lila Bjorn Crochets, from Lila Bjorn Crochets. It's absolutely massive because I made it with the pattern suggests using a 4-ply yarn, shape used stone washed I think, but I wanted it to make a rug, so I used an Aran weight yarn, cotton yarn, and this is Epic from, it is indeed Epic, but the yarn is also called Epic from Yarn and Colours, and it's in a navy blue and a cream. It isn't quite white, it's slightly cream, so you can't really see it all. I'll pop in some pictures as well. I'll try and hold it up. There you go. It's the same on both sides anyway, but this now lives on the floor in my bedroom next to my bed, and I really, really like it. It does, when you hoover and you put it back down, because it's quite sort of floppy compared to most rugs, it does need a little bit of positioning to get it nice and circular. Which wasn't something I thought of or realised before when I was making it, because I've never made a rug like this before, but it's not too bad, and if it's a little bit of a wonky circle sometimes it doesn't really matter. So that's my first finished make, which I am absolutely thrilled with. The next thing I finished is a blanket that I started. I can't remember when I started it. When I started it, I didn't share any pictures of it. I think it was either earlier this year or possibly late last year. But while I was going through my yarn stash, the last video I posted, I don't know if you've seen it, it was a tour of my yarn stash. So early August, shortly after the last podcast actually, I decided to go through all of my yarn stash, sort it all out, work out what I'd got, tidy it up a bit, make some of it a bit more accessible in the hope that I'd use up a bit more of it. And while I was going through that, I found this blanket that I'd started, and it wasn't turning out exactly as I'd hoped, so it had got put away and forgotten about. But when I looked at it again, I thought, even though it's not exactly what I was hoping for, it wasn't as bad as I'd thought. And I posted a picture of it on Instagram and asked people what they thought and whether I should finish it, and I got lots of really encouraging comments saying yes, you should finish it. So I did. It was quite quick, but enough talking. Here you go, I'll show you what it is now. So it is the Paper Dolls blanket. So I'm showing you this bit first because this is the main bit of the pattern, and I've made it using tapestry crochet, alternating trousers and dresses on the little people, and it's made with an Aran yarn, so it's quite large. And what I wasn't happy about initially was how the people came out. They were a little bit too, just the shape of them I wasn't so keen on, but obviously when you're doing tapestry crochet, and I do it, or with this I was doing it using the treble stitch, so you've got like little rectangles essentially that you can use to make up your pattern of the picture or the pattern that you're creating. So you're limited by that. So if you want to have a more detailed or better defined pattern, you need to use more stitches. And obviously with this being an Aran weight yarn, if I'd used more stitches to get a sort of a smoother shape to the pattern, it would have been absolutely enormous. So that's why I wasn't so happy with it originally, was that I just wasn't so keen on the definition of the people. But when I looked at them again, I thought, actually, you know what, they're not so bad. And I had all the yarn, so I thought I really should use it and finish off the blanket and make it. So what it's got is a row of 6 people along one end. Did you get all that? And then the middle section is just plain treble stitches, but they're all done in the back loops only, so you get a kind of ribbed, is that the right word? Ribbed or ridged effect, anyway, a bit of texture. And then at the other end of the blanket, it's got another row of people which are upside down, but it's so that they've both got their feet along the edge of the blanket. So if I fold it over, you can see both edges. So they're sort of the right way up when you look from either end of the blanket. Had a bit of discussion with my husband about which way up I should put the people, and I think he was more of the view that both rows should be the right way up, so there's one right way up for the blanket, but I wanted to have them so it was sort of symmetrical, so that the heads are inwards and the feet are outwards at both ends. But I just started writing up the pattern, but once the pattern's out, you could obviously do it whichever way around you preferred. It'd be quite easy to just repeat the first few rows at the end to get the people the same way up, if that's what you wanted to do. And also what I'm going to do, because I debated whether to do, obviously if you were making, the inspiration was paper dolls, you know, where you fold up a bit of paper, draw a person, cut it out, open it out, and you've got a string of paper dolls. Obviously when you do that, all your people are the same shape, but as you can see, mine aren't, because I wanted a bit of variation, and so I swapped between trousers and dresses and trousers and dresses all the way along. But what it's actually only 2 rows of the pattern of the people which are different to add on the skirt compared to trousers. So when I write up the pattern, what I'm going to do is write it up like this, going trouser, dress, trouser, dress. I'll also write it up as a version all trousers if you want that. It'll just be 2 rows that are different, so I'll just give an alternative version of those 2 rows, and then the same all skirts. And in fact, because it's so easy and just those 2 rows that are different, it'd be really easy for you to do whatever pattern you wanted of trousers or dresses, for example, to reflect a particular group of people and what they like to wear. So that's the plan. So I've started writing it up this morning actually, which will probably take me a couple of days. Then hopefully I'll get it tested, and hopefully it'll be ready to release in maybe in the next few weeks. So that's the plan for that blanket. So I am pleased that I found it and got it finished, because I don't think it's as bad as I thought. So there you go. So let me know what you think in the comments, whether or not it was a good idea to have finished it. Yeah, hopefully that will be released pretty soon. All right, I've got lots of things on the floor next to me. Just debating what to show you next. I'll have a sip of tea while I wait. While you wait. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a book which I was sent to review. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know what it is, but this is the book. It is Mosaic Crochet Workshop by Esme Crick, and she is Red Sparrow Crochet on Instagram and Etsy and wherever she sells her patterns. I've followed her, I've made her patterns before and really love all her work. And I was probably going to buy this book anyway, so I was really excited when the publishers, who are David and Charles Books, or might just be David and Charles, they asked if I would like to review a copy if they send it to me. So I said yes please, and they asked a little while ago actually. They sent me a different book first to review, Hello Hexie, which was very good, and at the same time they asked if I'd be interested in reviewing this when it came out. So I've been looking forward to receiving it for a few months now. So it was very exciting when it finally arrived, and it is, I can assure you, every bit as good as I was hoping for and as you'd expect. So I'll just sort of talk you through it a little bit and show you, give you some peeks about what you get in the book, and then I'll show you some of the examples of what I've made from the book. So the book, first of all, it's got, well, there's an introduction, and then there's a really good, thorough and complete explanation about how to do mosaic crochet, because all the patterns in the book are made with mosaic crochet. And there's different ways of doing mosaic crochet. They're all based on the same sort of principle, but there's slight variations in techniques. So this sets out exactly what technique you should be using to do the patterns in this book. And what I really like about this technique is that you don't end up, unlike some versions of mosaic crochet where you have to cut the yarn at the end of every single row, and then you end up with a sort of fringe down each side of your work with either a zillion ends to sew in or crochet over, or you've got to deal with them somehow, or just make your work look really pretty and keep them as a feature. But this technique, instead of having to change yarn at the end of every row, you do it at the end of every other row. So they all use 2 colours, or that you could use more if you want, but they mainly 2 colours. So for each colour you crochet along a row and back again, and then you change colour, but you don't have to cut off the first colour. So you crochet along and back with the second colour, and then you just carry the yarn up 2 rows, and it's all done with double crochet or US single crochet, so they're short rows. So you just carry the yarn up 2 rows up one side of the work, and then it's dead easy then to just crochet over that when you make a border round the edge. So that was one really brilliant thing about this technique, that you don't have a zillion ends to deal with somehow. So it explains the technique. Then there it is. There's a handy bit here on how to make a swatch, just to get the hang of it if you've not done it before, and how to follow the charts, a bit about yarn and hook sizes, standard stuff. Then there's this really good section called Colour Considerations, which explains how Esme comes up with all her amazing colour combinations that she uses in all her blankets. And I really enjoyed this section because I think colour combinations is something that I really like to improve on and perhaps be a bit bolder on and go out of my comfort zone on a bit more often. So it was really nice to read how Esme chooses her colours, and made me think about colour selection in a different way to how I'd previously thought about it, and hopefully I'm going to apply some of those principles when I'm choosing colours for future projects. So watch this space. Then after that really good bit on colours, which is well worth it in itself really, then you get on to the projects. So there's 24 projects really, I suppose, but there's 12 different patterns, mosaic patterns in the book, which are shown on this page here. And for each of them, there's a full pattern to make it as a throw, or and rather there's also an additional pattern of how to use the mosaic pattern in a smaller project. And each time it's a different small project, but you could mix it around, and you could use apply different mosaic patterns to different projects if you want to do quite easily. So for example, this is the block party throw, which just looks amazing, doesn't it? And then the small project for it is, there's a suggestion, and it illustrates it for you in a different colourway as well. And that they've got that for each pattern as well. But then the additional project for it is this amazing tea cozy. How cool is that, with this fabulous pom-pom on the top? So there's a different small project for each of them. So there's a tea cozy. What else is there? There's a picnic set for one of them. There's a cushion, of course, which is a really good project, which you could use any of the patterns for. There's a rug is an additional project, more cushions, there's a footstool somewhere. One of them gets made into a footstool. This is a clutch, handy little clutch it's called, and it would indeed be very handy. Where's the footstool? The footstool is brilliant. I'm not sure whether I'd be brave enough to make it. Oh, one of them's been turned into a scarf as well. Here it is. There's the footstool. Doesn't that look brilliant? And it's stuffed with a duvet, I think. Where does it say? You will need stuffing, which could be old pillows, quilts, or fabric, etc., or foam pieces. There you go. So you can make a footstool, which would be brilliant. And there's a bag, a tote bag from one of them, and this one pattern can be made into a table runner. So it gives you loads of ideas. If you don't want to make a full, oh, there's a wall hanging, this one. So this is the whole throw, which is got all these amazing houses on it. Then the spin-off project is this brilliant wall hanging, which, look at those, that fringe, do you call it a fringe or tassels at the bottom? Isn't that so neat? I'd really like to make that one to put on my wall in here, actually. So yeah, so you get lots, if you don't want to make a whole big throw, there's lots of ideas for making brilliant smaller projects as well. So I've had a go at a few of them. I've made three and a half so far, so I'll show you the three that I've made. And we've got some really old tatty table mats at our kitchen table, which I've been wanting to get new ones for a while. So I thought, why don't I have a go at these mosaic patterns and make them as table mats? Now, because I've done a different pattern for each mat, and some of them might be the same, but most of them have got a different number of stitches in the pattern repeat, and then height wise as well. You could do as many rows as you want, but it's nice to finish it at a sort of sensible point to give a bit of sort of symmetry top and bottom to the mat. So all my mats are different sizes, but I think that's all right. So this is Block Party. None of these, I should say, mentioning blocks, have been blocked yet, so they do need a little bit of blocking just to straighten them all up, but I'm really pleased with that one. And that wasn't the first one I made, actually, but the first one I made in these colours and quite liked how they look. So I was initially planning on having a whole eclectic array of different colours, but in the end I've gone for all the same colours, but on this last one that I'm making, I've run out of this green halfway through, so the last one is going to be half green and half red. So hopefully that will look all right. I don't know if we'll be fighting over who gets to have that mat because it's the best one, or who gets to not have it because it's the worst, but we'll see. This is Cool as a Flock. Well, this is the smallest one, so I gave this one actually a bigger border to make it a bit bigger, but maybe I should have put in an extra pattern repeat instead, but anyway, that's still big enough for a plate. This was the first one I made. This one is called Hail or Kale, and I thought, well, with a name like that, it's perfect for a table mat, isn't it? All about green vegetables. I really love that design. So those are the 3 I've made. The last one, well, I could show it to you, it's just over there, which I'm in the middle of making, is called Bumblebee. And as I said, I ran out of the green whoops, the daisy, it's all going everywhere. Throw that over the ball over there. So I ran out of the green halfway through and I've had to switch to a bright red. So also I got in a bit of a muddle. I think I was a bit tired and I thought I got to the halfway point sooner than I had and switched to red, and then realised that I wasn't actually on the halfway line. So I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I did frog and then do it again with a bit more green, because I did have a bit, I've only got a tiny bit left now, so it was quite good to finish up practically all of the green. But yeah, now I've switched on to the red. So, but because of that, I've ended up with a few more ends to sew in than I would have had if I hadn't cut my green yarn too soon. So that shouldn't take me too long to finish off, and then I'll do it with the same dark grey border as the other one, block them, and then we'll have 4 new table mats, which will be nice. I should probably make 5 actually, because quite often there's 5 of us at our table when my mother-in-law comes round as well. So it'd be nice if she can have one. Maybe I should make 6. That'd be an excuse to make another pattern as well, because sometimes there are 6 people at the table. Yeah, so that is, I'll hold up the book again, that is the Mosaic Crochet Workshop book, and it is out, hang on, I'm gasping. It is out next Tuesday, the 14th of September, available from Amazon, I'm sure, but also I'm sure it's available from lots of other brilliant places too. I've been sent 2 copies of the book, so I'm going to be doing on Instagram next week, I'm going to be doing a giveaway so if you'd like to win a copy of the book, check out or keep an eye on my profile on Instagram next week, and there will be a chance for you to win your own copy. And I'll probably be, I'm not sure when, I'll probably post it early next week, the post announcing the giveaway, and then I'll draw it, I'm not sure, near the end of the week, maybe next Friday probably. So it's nice to know if you've won it or not, because if you haven't, then you can go out and buy it instead. But if you're in with a chance of winning it, then maybe hold off on buying it, although I'm not sure what the odds will be like. But anyway, that's the book. It's brilliant and I really recommend it. I'm sure it's going to be extremely popular. And I've seen some other posts already on Instagram as well that other people have made. Someone, oh, the name's just slipped out of my head. Someone really well known has made this, I think it's called Dutch Houses, as a, yeah, Dutch Houses throw. She's made it as a wall hanging in really nice pastel colours, which looks amazing. So if you look for maybe the hashtag Mosaic Crochet Workshop or something like that on Instagram, you'll see that there. And also check out Esme's Instagram profile, because she's got loads of photos of the actual projects coming up on there as well, if you want to have a look in more detail at any of the projects that are in the book. Right, what next? Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing for now that I can actually hold up and show you, and then I've got 2 things to talk about which I can't really show you in person, so I'm going to put in a photo instead. I'll tell you what those are in a minute. So I don't know if you remember last time I talked about a blanket I've been making with hobby yarn, where they'd had set a challenge and asked people if they'd like to join in with it, and if they did, then they sent them the yarn, hobby yarn, to make the challenge. So they asked again if I'd like to join in another challenge. They seem to be running quite a lot of these at the moment, because someone else I follow had posted a picture, and I thought she was doing the same challenge because it was, both of them are Christmassy. I'll show you mine in a moment. But it turns out they've actually got 2 Christmas challenges running at the moment. So there's lots going on. Anyway, this is called the Hobby Christmas Decor Challenge. And it's all about making a Christmas decoration for the home. Well, I guess that's the main place people decorate, isn't it? I suppose you could put it wherever you want. And there was a choice of different yarns you could use. And I chose cotton yarn. This is the Rainbow 8/6 cotton yarn. I can't remember if this was, you can get it in different weights, and I think this might be the equivalent of the DK weight, or it is DK weight, or it might be one smaller. The recommended, it might be a bit smaller actually, because the recommended hook size is 3 to 3.5 millimeter. I'm reading the label on the back. It says it's 2, yarn weight 2 fine, but I don't really understand those gradings. But I'm pretty sure 2 fine must be slightly thinner than a DK, and I think you can get it in a thicker size as well. But in my opinion, it's not far off a DK anyway. So these are the three colours I went for. It's 100% cotton, really soft and smooth, and it doesn't split at all either. Some cotton yarns I find tend to split a bit when you're crocheting with them, which can be a bit, it's not too bad, but it can be a bit awkward, and sometimes your hook catches on it. But these are, I don't think, no, it doesn't say the colour names on them. They have got names, but on the bands it just gives a number, which isn't so interesting. But there you go. So they're quite Christmassy colours, but not sort of the bright red or green. I wanted something a little bit different, and I decided to make a table runner in the hope that this Christmas, unlike last Christmas, we will be able to have lots of friends and family around a table together to celebrate Christmas. So this is the table runner that I'm making at the moment. There we go. And I'm making it, unlike most of my designs, which are tapestry crochet, I'm actually using mosaic crochet to make it. And I'm doing it in the same technique that Esme uses in her books. So I'm doing 2 rows of each colour, so that I can show you what it looks like actually, because I haven't done a border yet. So I'm just carrying the yarn up the side there, you can see, along that edge. So when I do a border, I'll just double crochet over all of that around the edge, and all the carrying will be hidden. And if you're interested as well, if you've not seen the back of mosaic crochet before, this is what it looks like. So it's obviously not as pretty as the front. What you do in this version of mosaic crochet is you do chains where you're not going to have that colour for a few stitches. You do chains to carry it along, so you have lots of loose chains along the back. But there are also ways in which you can, if you don't want the loose chains, that you can crochet them into your work if you don't want them. But it's not a problem for me, especially not for, maybe you might be less likely to want them in a blanket, but for a table runner that's going to be absolutely fine. So I've gone for these Christmas trees, and these crosses are supposed to resemble stars, so it's sort of a starry night in a forest. So I'm going to have a few rows of trees and stars, and then when I get to what I think is halfway, I'll have a full row of stars, and then I'm going to flip the trees over and have them going that way, so that when the runner goes along the table, the trees will all be pointing towards the middle. That's the plan anyway. So I'm working on that this month, and it should be finished by the end of the month. and then I'll be releasing the pattern shortly after, is the plan. I've got in a right tangle with this yarn, just winding it back up again. So that is my table runner I'm working on at the moment. And because it's still only September, hopefully it should definitely be finished in time for Christmas. Right, what next? Yeah, so I've got two things to tell you about, which I can't really show you. So the first thing, what I will show you is the yarn that I used, because I've got it right next to me. I thought at least I'll have something to hold up. So the first thing is last month I released a free pattern for some tapestry crochet mats I'd made, which are they're hexagons with a star on them, and I made a bunch of them in July at the end of the school year here to give to teachers and teaching assistants as gifts at the end of the school year. So that's why I can't show them to you, because I've given them all away. And what I can show you is the yarn I used, which was this Moya yarn. I think I spoke about it when I did the tour of my yarn stash, but I don't think I mentioned it at all in my last podcast. But this was a gift that was sent to me from Moya, who are a South African company who make beautiful hand-dyed yarn in lots of they're quite light colours, with a sort of almost a kind of whiteness to the yarn, where it's kind of like the underlying white yarn almost shows through a bit. So they've got a whole range of colours. I told them I like blues and greens a lot, so they sent me mostly blues and greens, but I also got some greys and yellows and natural ones. This is their DK cotton, which is what I used to make the mats with. And they also sent me some Aran yarn, two different 4-ply yarns. One's got bamboo in it, and one, they might both be bamboo. Let me have a look. This one is 100% bamboo, this one, and so is that one. No, I can't find another at the moment. This, they sent me loads. I've got this whole great big, you can get an idea there of how sort of light all the different colours are there. I've got this big basket full of it. But I've got each little cake is 50 grams, and each one is a different colour as well. So I need to think of a project and these are different weights as well, but I'd like to think of a good project to use some more of it up. But it'll have to be a project involving lots of different colours, and where you only need a small bit of each colour. So yeah, mulling that over. But in the meantime, my star mats, which I think I will have put in a picture somehow by now, so you know what they look like. That is available as a free pattern on my blog, and it's on Ravelry, but the Ravelry page of it just links to the pattern on my blog. There's no, I don't think there shouldn't be, I've not put any anyway. I don't know if they appear when you view it. There's no adverts on my blog or anything, so it'd be quite easy to just print it or copy and paste it into a Word document and print it from there if you did want a printed copy. So there's no like PDF version on Ravelry or anything like that, although maybe one day I'll add one, but at the moment it's just a free pattern on my blog for you to use if you'd like to make some mats. They're really quick, and I gave them to the teachers with a pot plant, and they're just the right size for putting a pot plant on. They're possibly, if you follow the pattern and do it with a DK yarn, they're possibly a little bit too small for as a placemat, but you could easily just keep going and add 1 or 2 more rounds just of the plain colour if you wanted to make them a little bit bigger, and then they'd be the right size. Or if you made it with an Aran cotton yarn, then obviously they'd end up a bit bigger, and then they might be fine as they are. And if you made it with a smaller yarn, you could get a coaster. So very versatile. And the other thing for which I have absolutely nothing at all to hold up and show you, is just to tell you that I've got a pattern out in the current issue of Crochet Now magazine. And the sample, well, I think it's either in the post or it's still with them. They said they'd be returning them soon, but I don't have the sample here to show you, and I don't even have a copy of the magazine yet to show you. But it's called the Gunther blanket. It's made of tapestry crochet squares, very simple diamond pattern. So each square has got 4 sort of V's, one on each side, and when you join all the squares together, the V's match up and make a whole load of diamonds going over the blanket. And then I gave it a ribbed border, which is the first time I've done that, but I was really pleased how that turned out because it gave it a really sort of cozy, chunky look, which I really liked. The yarn was Simply Soft, Caron yarn, Simply Soft, which is an Aran yarn. It's 100% acrylic. It's really smooth. The colour I ended up making it in is red, a bright red and cream, which wasn't the original intended colour, but it was the cream, but with more of a, I think it was like more of a browny coppery colour originally. A bit more sort of autumny, but that one turned out was out of stock, so it was switched at the last minute to the red, which initially I wasn't too sure about because I would have never personally chosen such a bright red. But then when I started making it, I think actually it looks really good, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So and the photographs they've taken of it as well make it look really good too. So I don't know, let me know what you think about it, whether you would have gone for such a bold colour. I'm not sure red will work in our lounge, to be honest, when it comes back, but it's still a really nice blanket. Or if you'd make it in different colours, let me know what you choose. But yeah, that's out in Crochet Now at the moment, the August issue. I don't think the September issue's out yet, so it is still the current issue. And in about 4 months from now, I'll be able to release it as well. So it'll be, if you aren't able to get Crochet Now or don't want to buy the whole magazine, which is, to be honest, really good value because you get loads of other brilliant patterns in it as well. There's some really nice other ones in there in this particular issue as well. But if you don't get it or don't want to get it, in about 4 months the pattern will be available I'll put it in my Etsy store and on Ravelry and Lovecrafts as well. Right, so that's that. Now back on to things I can show you. There's 2 things I've literally just started, and 1 thing I haven't started at all, but I have got all the yarn ready for. So I'm going to show it to you in the hope that that means that then I will actually have to finish it. And if I don't, if you never hear about it again, please do write a comment and say what happened about that blanket that you showed us that you were going to make. Anyway, it's my daughter's birthday next week. She's turning 11, and I started thinking very late in the day about making her something for her birthday. So I've started something now, but there's absolutely no way I'm going to finish it in time for her birthday. So especially because I want it to be a surprise, so I can't work on it when she's around, so it probably doesn't give me that many chances to actually do it. Anyway, hopefully it might be ready in time for Christmas. So this is how far I got with it so far. This is the Juniper Jumper by Little Golden Nook, and it is a bobbly jumper. I'm really pleased because I think I'm going to be able to make the whole thing with yarn from my stash, although some of it had been sort of provisionally allocated to a different project, so I might end up having to buy more for that project. But anyway, it's going to be dark grey. This is Shapey's Colour Crafter, the dark grey. I can't remember the name of the colour. Rotterdam. And the cream, I think, is, I haven't got any, I've got 2 balls of it, which will be plenty, but neither of them have got the bands on them. But I'm pretty sure this is Stylecraft Special DK cream. So yeah, so I wasn't too sure at first whether the dark grey cream was a little bit dull and if she'd want something a bit more colourful. But I think actually the fact it's got bubbles makes it really fun. So even though it's not bright colours, hopefully the bubbliness of it will still make it fun. And the risk with making anything really for anyone is that they don't like it, or they don't like it enough to wear it after all the time you put into it. So I really hope she does. And I was really good, and I haven't made that, I've only made 2 other, I think only 2 other crochet garments, and both of them ended up a bit big, slightly too big. One's a cardigan and one's a jumper. They're both mine and I do wear them. Well, I haven't worn the cardigan much, but I do wear the jumper. But it is a little bit bigger than I would have liked. So I was really good this time and actually did a swatch, and turned out I had to go down a hook size from the hook size stated in the pattern. So the pattern said to use a 4mm hook, and actually I get the right tension with a 3.5mm hook. So hopefully I'm making the size age 10 to 12, so hopefully this should fit her spot on. Yeah, so it's the Juniper Jumper by Little Golden Nook, and I really love how it's called a jumper and not a sweater, because I'd call it a jumper, but I find most patterns call jumpers sweaters, which isn't what I call them at all. So I think it's really nice that this one calls itself a jumper when that is exactly what it is. So hopefully there'll be a bit more progress on that, but probably not loads, because most of the time when I'm crocheting my daughter is around in the evenings, so I have to wait till she goes to bed, which doesn't give that much time. The other thing I've started but not got very far with is this. Ta-da! A whole granny square, and I made this granny square on Granny Square Day a few weeks ago, and it is for the Revival sweater, not the jumper, but I still like it anyway. The Revival sweater by HG Designs Crochet, which I bought the pattern for last winter because I knew I wanted to make it, but I hadn't got around to starting until just now. So on Granny Square Day I thought, well, if I'm going to make a granny square, I might as well make one for the jumper. And I thought, why don't I just set myself a target of making one a day, and then before you know it I'll have enough for the jumper, because I think you need 12 for the front and 12 for the back, I'm not sure. So I thought, oh, I'll have all the squares made in a month, but I haven't made any more yet. And part of the reason is because I've chosen the colours I'm going to use for them, and I think I'm going to use all of them. So I've got a teal, those two are the same, a bright green, and there's a mixture of different makes. That's a petrol blue, not sure that one's called, but that's a sort of pinky burgundy. And then I've also got, that's more petrol, but then I've also got this other brighter turquoise. So those are all the colours I'm going to use. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colours, and then the joining and sort of sleeve colour and collar and whatever. The plan was to be the dark grey, the same dark grey that I'm now using for my daughter's jumper, which I've got more than enough of for my daughter's jumper, but I might need to buy some more. I don't think it will stretch to do hers, and also the Revival sweater. But the reason I haven't made any more granny squares yet is because I've got 5 colours I want to use, but each square only needs 3. So before I just start crocheting away willy-nilly, I want to make some sort of list and plan of what different variations of the 5 colours I make, so make sure I get a sort of even selection of different combinations across the whole of the jumper. So that will be a few minutes of head scratching to work that out. And to be honest, when I sit down in the evening to crochet, I'm not in that sort of thinking mood. I just want to pick up whatever I'm going to crochet and start crocheting. So I need some time during the day to sit down and actually make that plan of all the different 24, however many granny squares it is I'm going to make, and then I can, then when the evening comes, I can just look at my list and see, oh yeah, it's colours B, C and D for the next one, make it, tick it off and go. So that's my excuse for having only made one granny square so far, but maybe next time I'll have some more to show you. Right, last thing coming up is not started at all, but I have bought for it a massive hook which arrived yesterday. This is a 20mm crochet hook, and I've got all the yarn for it, which is all from my Aran stash, and I think I'm going to use all of it, and I'm going to make I think it's just called the Rainbow Blanket. I'll check that though, but it's by Lottie and Albert, and it's the Rainbow Blanket, and I think it's going to be a really good stash buster because you probably know the pattern, but you hold several yarns together and you make a really nice blanket. I might put in a picture of it. I made one before, but the reason I didn't have the right hook is because the pattern says to use 6 strands of DK yarn, and when I did it I followed the pattern, but I only used 4 strands of DK yarn and used a slightly smaller hook for it, so it works out the same, it's just not quite as chunky. This time I'm going to try and make it as chunky as the pattern, but I'm using Aran yarn, so I think about 4 strands of Aran will be about the same as 6 strands of DK. Do you think that sounds about right? Let me know if you think that's wildly wrong. Anyway, I'm going to have a go with 4 strands of, holding 4 strands of Aran together to make it with the 20mm hook. And then I'm not very good at making pom-poms, they always end up looking really straggly, but I'm going to try and perfect my pom-pom making technique and finish it off as Lindsay does, Lottie and Albert, with a row of pom-poms along each edge. And I'm going to like randomly change the colours that I'm using from this selection through the blanket. And this, I haven't started it yet, but I'm hoping, well, it will work up really, really quickly, and I think there is a slight chance it could possibly be finished by Thursday in time to give to my daughter for her birthday, but we shall see. If not, then she can just have it for Christmas instead, but I will then also have to make one for my other daughter as well for Christmas, so that might slow things down a bit or make it less likely, we'll see. But that's about it, I think. Just looking on the floor. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. It's been really nice to chat to you as always. I meant to sort of fill you in on a bit of news really, which I completely forgot to do. I just plunged in with all the crochet stuff, but it's not much news really, other than to say that my daughters went back to school this week, which is why I had time to podcast again. So they're really, really happy. One's just started year 6 and one's moved into year 3. So they both now finish at the same time, which is good. Last year, with the younger one in year 2, she finished earlier. So I get a bit more time to work each day before I have to go and collect them from school now, which is handy. And a bit less rushing about. So they were really ready to go back to school at the end of the summer holidays. I think it's always the same, isn't it? At the end of the holidays, parents and children are really, really ready to go back to school, but then once term starts again and you're back into it by the end of term or half term, you're really, really ready for that break again. So there's pros and cons to both, aren't they? It's not the relaxation of the holidays is really nice, and not having any homework to think about and all the letters and things that come home from school is good. But then once they're back at school, it's also good that they're at school. We had a really nice trip away at the end of the holidays down in Kent for 3 nights. We stayed in a little self-catering cottage in Deal, which we'd not been to before but heard lots of nice things about, and we were really lucky with the weather. The weather this summer has been pretty rubbish. There's been the odd sunny warm patch, but the majority of the time it's been pretty grey and not too wet, but perhaps a little bit drizzly and not particularly warm, just pretty miserable. But this last weekend it really cheered up, and the beginning of this week it's been really warm as well, right when they went back to school. But we were lucky that it was nice when we were away as well in Deal, and we went to Sandwich Bay one day, and my younger daughter was really keen to have a swim in the sea. So I went in with her, and actually, although the weather was cooler, I think the sea was actually warmer than when we'd been in the sea earlier in the summer when we were in Devon. And I don't know if it's because it's warmed up over the summer or because it's a different bit of the sea. Maybe someone else knows, but it wasn't as freezing as I feared it would be, so that was quite nice. Where else to go? We visited a castle called Walmer Castle, which is just south of Deal. It's sort of between Deal and Dover. I'd not heard of this castle before, but it's very nice. It's an English heritage castle. It's got really nice gardens, and it's much more what's the word, sort of homely and residential than I thought it was going to be. And apparently it was a favourite place of the Queen Mother's. She used to like to go and stay there. And the Duke of Wellington died there, and we saw the very chair that he died in. So that was nice. And then on the way back, on the last day, we stopped off at Whitstable on the north coast of Kent. And we got ice cream, we had seafood for lunch, and we went on a little boat trip as well, which was very exciting for my daughters because, being children, they had to wear life jackets, and they would have been absolutely fine without them. It was just a precaution, but it made the whole thing much more exciting for them. So that was a really nice end to our summer holidays before they went back to school. And it feels like we came home on Monday, stopped off at Whitstable and came home on Monday. Today's Friday, and it feels like, now they've been back at school a few days, it feels like much longer ago than just a few days. But that was a really nice end, and we've got my daughter's birthday next week, so I will leave it there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll probably make another podcast maybe in about a month and have some more things to show you, and hopefully some progress on these projects that I've just been starting to. Thanks again, take care, bye bye.